Hello my lovely, welcome back to my channel. This week we are going through all the ways in which you can fill your journals, which is kind of a follow-on from last week's video, which was in answer to people's questions about making journals and not knowing what to do with them. So go over and head over and check that one out if you haven't already. This one, I did create a list of all of the ways because there are so many ways. There are millions of ways. But before I get into the list of actual things you can do, what I want to make clear from here is that I want you to get out of the mindset of a journal being just a piece of paper or bound pieces of paper, okay? Yes, they are blank canvases. What they really are, they are portals, safe spaces to fully explore and express those areas of yourself that exist, because honey, you are super special and you are a multifaceted human being, which means there is a zillion million quadrillion ways that you could fill your journals. And in this video I am going to give you examples of journals I currently have. Now, I am a journaler that has millions of journals in my space. In every space you will find of mine, there is journals. So I'm gonna, as an example, because this is what I've got to give you as an example, it's me, it's my experience, it's how I do it. I'm gonna take you through some of my journals specifically. I'm not saying if I say I have a journal on this, you need to have a journal on this. Please use this as an example only to get the cogs going and to begin the process of understanding yourself and the ways in which you may benefit from having different journals on different things and learning really the true, it's not really joy, because sometimes journaling can be a little bit disconcerting as you learn things about yourself, but the true expansion that journals can bring into your life, okay? So, let's go. Okay, so I have videos that explain all the differences between art journals, junk journals, written journals even, smashbooks, gluebooks. I have videos on that. I'll stick them in the links and in the description. And I went over it a little bit in last week's video as well, so I'm not going to regurgitate that. What I will do to start us off is I will kickstart with sharing. You guys know I'm an art journaler, so I'm going to share different ways in which I use art journals. Okay, so number one, I use a warm-up journal. Not often, but I have a little journal that I made out of greetings cards, so recycled elements that I just use to create in every now and again to get the juices flowing. I have a faces journal if I want to just focus on sketching, drawing, painting faces. I have a non-dominant hand journal where I only paint, write, draw, whatever with my left hand. That is quite an incredibly insightful journal for motor function skills for one, but also it gets you out of your normal patterns of creativity and unlocks something. I mean, I've heard studies where people tell you to use your non-dominant hand for brushing your teeth and things like that. It unlocks this kind of creative flow because it's not using the same pathways in your brain that you usually use. So if you are ever stuck creating in your art journals or generally, try a non-dominant hand journal and just see if it manages to open the box of something new for you. I also create in altered books in a very specific style, which is very layered, very full, very rich kind of pages, which I don't create necessarily in other art journals that I have. I personally have an opinion that journals have their own identity, and at one point I may do a video on that because it's kind of a separate topic to this. I won't go into that. But with altar books, for me, using altar books as art journals, it creates a certain identity in the style of art that I create. So that's another way that I fill my art journals, is by using a particular style of journal to do the art in. Okay, junk journals was the starting place of the video from last week. People wanted to make junk journals, didn't know what to fill them with. I use junk journals very differently to what a lot of people are creating junk journals as at the minute. I use them to actually make them out of junk. Again, showed a little bit about this in last week's video, but some of the ways I fill some of my junk journals is I have one as an art journal, which we just covered, and I have a video where I compile 2 weeks worth of junk journaling into one video if you want to see how I personally kind of use a junk journal as an art journal. Another thing I use regularly junk journals for is my remedies junk journal, where inside I have folios for emotional remedies. So that is a class that I have on my journal workshops community. A few of these ways that I fill journals, as I explained to you, I will mention classes or videos or things like that, because obviously I teach or I only share things I actually do. So if I'm mentioning, such as the remedies junk journal and how I fill it, there is going to be questions of, can I see that? How do you do it? So I'm going to answer that as I go through. That one I have a class on. You can go get it on my journal workshops community. I also, just going through my list, other journals that I've filled that started off kind of as junk journals is my manifestation journal. Now, I shared this a little bit more in my journal workshops community than I have anywhere else, but it was from an old binder that was very specific, didn't have standard sets of I don't know, those binding holes or anything like that. It was from a training, like back in the day when you had trainings with DVDs in them. So I upcycled that and turned it into a manifestation journal. Again, I think if you want to see more of that journal, it is in the monthly challenge group, which is a free group where every month I put out new art videos, new challenges to my community. And if you go through the archive of that, there is like 7+ years of archive challenges, actually nearly 8 years of previously recorded challenges. So if you want to go through and binge them, you'll find a whole bunch of videos in there on ways to fill your journals with actual challenges given direct to you if you want to take them. But if you just want to find the manifestation journal, go through and have a look. It will be in there somewhere. Just seen another which is an expansion on manifestation journal, and that's goal journaling. So kind of like planners, but more specific to big pictures. Planners are more day-to-day actions that you do to achieve your goals. So I'm not going to go into planners, but I do hold many goal journal active right now. So I'll show you a few of those. And the reason I have those is to hold myself accountable to those things I want to create. This may not be relevant to you. Again, please take heed that I am an example here, and I'm just giving you some of my active journals right now for you to go, I'm interested in so-and-so. That would be a great thing for me to fill one of my journals with. Not necessarily the ways, the means, the how. You can do it via a scrapbook. You can do it via a junk journaling memorabilia filling way. You can do it via art journaling, you can do it via written journaling. I do keep a regular everyday journal that I call my daily rituals. I have a free class on my journal community called 7-Day Journal Journey if you want to start off written journaling. Because I have been asked for years, where do I start? I want to start writing journaling. I don't know where to begin. So every day for 7 days we go through a different journaling technique for you. If you follow that process, you will find something that will click with you to begin your written journaling journey. But at the same time, you can do that via just taking a snapshot, a photograph every day, filling, if you want to fill little junk journals, and then doing a little bit of writing underneath it to capture your days. That's a beautiful way to do some just daily journaling. So begin, if I'm talking about doing this, begin kind of looking at it from a different angle. Oh, I like photography, I can do that as well. Or, oh, I like just keeping the receipts and things of my daily life, I can do it from that angle. My Daily Rituals journal has everything in it. Not just written journaling, it has art journaling in it. It has all the ticket stubs and things like that in it. Although I do have separate Smashbooks, which I can overlay to show you here, that I keep more special things in, such as things I've been sent from people, letters or cards, or I don't know, personal stuff in some way. And then in my Daily Rituals journal in goes a lot more just general stuff, and also things like to-do lists. I often just put my to-do list in my Daily Rituals journal. I put my creative ideas in there. I'll get to ideas journaling in a minute. And recipes and people I want to look up, or teachers I want to work with, or things like that. Just everything goes in my daily journal. Now, creative ideas, I have creative journals. This is an area I think everybody that is creative needs to have at least one journal that you fill on this topic, because we get so many ideas, and if you don't put them somewhere, they just go round and around and around. Have you ever been, you know, had this thing tap you on the shoulder months later and you're like, why am I still thinking about this? Get it out on paper via sketches. That's what I often do with creative ideas, is I need a visual thing of, oh, I've got an idea to create that, so I want a visual image of how I do it, and then I write down the steps to doing it before it either disappears out of my head or just takes up space. And if I don't have one of my creative journals around, I use my daily journal and then I transplant it. I'll go through every so often, because I don't always have my creative ideas journals with me, and it is important to get them down and out right then. So even though I kind of want to keep these journals separate and be very linear and all of that about it, I can't do that. I'm a creative person. I have all of these journals. One that I will have with me generally is my daily journal, so everything goes in there, and then every couple of months or so I may go through and take an inventory and go, oh, I have that idea to move over, I have that idea to move over. Okay, so don't think, this is the thing with your journals, they are there for you. They are safe spaces for you to do whatever you need to do in them. They are judgment free. Do not worry about being particularly perfect in them, or thinking when you start a journal, this is what I'm going to go with and it has to stick to that. This is the theme of that journal. Cannot move from that. Allow your creative flow to come in, take over, and adapt things as you need them. Okay? So while I really want to be very particular about things, and this is this journal and that is that journal and that is that journal, that is not life. So allow yourself freedom. Let it go. Let that go. Your journals are not there to look perfect. They are there to be a process, a tool, a thing to move with you as you go through your days, your weeks, your months, your years. I keep friendship journals where I create a journal and I send back and forwards with different people, either a written journal where we just write letters to one another. I write one, they write one, I write one, they write one, and we send it backwards and forwards so that we can keep a tally of things. It's cool. It's kind of like the things I was doing when I was 16 or so. And this I have a video on, and I also do art journals, which I call boomerang journals, because we send them backwards and forwards, but rather than they creating an art journal page and I create an art journal page, we just overlay each other's work, and it really stretches your creativity. Again, I have a video on this. I will stick a link to that video, but also on the community on journal workshops, we do art swaps every so often, where we set you guys up with a partner, what I call an art buddy, to do this boomerang style of journaling. Okay, I also keep wisdom journals, so I loathe learning the same lessons over and over and over and over again, but life will give you the same lesson over and over and over and over and over and over and over again if you don't pay attention to it. So I keep wisdom journals where when I've been hit in the face with a certain thing once or twice, I put that into my wisdom journal. And again, I have a class on this where we make the actual wisdom journal, and then I give lessons on filling the journal with your wisdoms, the same as the remedies journal where we make the junk journal, and then we also have the lessons on filling it with your emotional remedies. So I have a few wisdom journals. It can just be one of my very first art journals that I consider art journals was a quote journal. I just used to keep quotes. I have actually been, when I look back, been doing art journals since I was about 14, 15. I used to do what we call drama diaries at my school, where, because I was a drama student, we would just write down what we did in that lesson. I used to draw and paint it. So yeah, very early on, I was doing different styles of journaling to everybody around me. So I understand that not everybody is going to figure out exactly what the potential of journals are without that history of using them in many different styles. But you can just do something to start off that is really simple, such as keeping quote journals. Now, if you do something like that, it has to be something that goes, ugh. I personally don't think there is a purpose to keeping just something as a journal that isn't really emotive, doesn't bring out any emotion that you don't enjoy, that doesn't fulfill you. Whatever it is, you have to have a strong connection to that thing, or you will not keep it up. And I will maybe talk in this video at the end, it depends how long I go on for, because I'm going on. I maybe talk at the end how important it is to keep consistency in your journaling, because that is where you see the results, that is where you see the ahas, that is where you see the epiphanies happen and the patterns develop, your own personal patterns, and also where you learn things like in your art or in your creativity. It's where the things begin to develop, and it's a compounding effect. So I may go into it more, I may do it in another video, or I may just leave it because I've just covered it a little bit in there. But yeah, it's got to be something that you put in there that really actually is worth for you to keep a journal on. Otherwise, don't bother, because you won't stick at it. So my wisdom journals, yeah, there's a few on that, and then there's a few just when I take lessons with somebody. I have taken advantage from the very beginning of the internet and learning. When I went to university, as well as learning at university, I was learning classes online and becoming trained aromatherapists and things like this that I was interested in before anybody had even heard of doing that on the internet. It was so absurd, and my fellow students at university could not understand why I would do that, because, you know, you go to university to get these letters after your name, you don't do it online and things like that. So I've got a lot of lessons still going off that I still learn a lot, so I also keep journals for that. It's proven that if you take a training or something like that and you write down, you take notes, you retain like 50% more than what you would otherwise. Or something like that, I don't know exactly, but it's definitely true. If you just watch something and don't take notes, you only like learn 10%. Or you remember 10%, because the rest of it, you're distracted and things like that. So I use that as well. What else do I do? Let's go through this. Another facet of myself that's kind of an example of a way in which you may fill a journal, but then there may be different aspects of yourself to fill different journals with, is I also keep a journal on spiritual practices when I learn that, because some of them could be quite in depth. Again, I've taken lots of classes with different teachers on different spiritual areas, and it has different practices in it, and sometimes they can be quite involved, so I keep a separate journal for that. So again, it's just an example of my personality and how it has these facets in it, and how that goes to filling lots of journals. So something that is very different to the spiritual practices one, but could be considered a spiritual journal I keep, is my yoga journal. I keep it in my yoga space, and I fill it out maybe only once every 6 months. I keep it in my yoga space so that if I have an epiphany through a yoga session, I can whip it out and I can just write up what happened. And I keep this separate to my daily journal, because it would be a nightmare for me to go through and find I'd never find them again. Basically, if I had an epiphany in a yoga session, which sometimes happen, it's about connection, or it's just something about, just remember to move your body to release the tension, whatever it is that I have an epiphany about. If I was to write that in my daily rituals journal rather than a separate journal, I'd never find it again. So I keep it in that space also so that it's there for when I need it. I don't have to go off somewhere else to go find my regular journal. And also, this is a very important point, I do not feel I have to fill the journals immediately. That is something that I think many people do. They think like if they start a journal, they have to fill it up fast. You don't. A journal is there for you. You are not there for the journal. So that journal may not get filled for 20 years, but what it will do at the end of 20 years, it will show my progression, and I will be able to look through this history, this particular aspect of myself that if I hadn't kept that journal would be lost. You will be amazed at the evolution of yourself, and also how quickly these journals stack up. You may think, 20 years is well off in the future, don't need to think about it. I started this channel over 10 years ago, and I just looked before I started this video at the first video was actually about art journals and the use of using multiple books. So it's come around in like over 10 years, nearly 11 years, whatever it is. It's come around, and that's what happens in life, and that's what happens in your journals, and it will be something that your journals will teach you. Quite obviously, the time passes anyway, so why not keep a journal on it? Why not store this aspect of yourself and learn this aspect of yourself and explore this aspect of yourself and expand this aspect of yourself? Fill your journals with whatever it is you want. Do not feel you have to fill them up immediately that you start it. Allow them to breathe and flow and be as they will, okay? Along those lines, I also have a moon journal. This one I did a class on called Luna, which was a month-long class. I took my students through how to manifest with the moon, doing journaling rituals at the full moon and the new moon. This is kind of my goal journaling meets my spirituality, my manifestation journal, okay? So this is those aspects of myself, and I have to say it's one of the most involved classes I've ever done. My students loved it, absolutely loved it, because it's creative, but it's also dreamy. We're expanding ourselves, we're going into the realm of possibility. We're also bringing it down and learning how to keep track of our goals every 2 weeks, basically, new moon, full moon, and the different ways in which we can be supported on a universal level. So again, I'm not trying to plug my classes here, but obviously I have created classes on these different types of journals that I create because my art community is called Journal Workshops. So what do you think my classes are going to be on? Okay, so what else have we got? Creative writing journals. I'm a creative writer, so I have a ton of journals that just have creative writing in them. I have a journal where I just write names down, funny names, and then from those funny names I write little funny stories. So that sounds really basic, but I've had that journal where I just write names down since my first real job out of university, where it was so mind-numbingly dull. But I sent out a lot of mail and things to people, so I would take notes of strange names, of either people's names or addresses, you know, not like full addresses, just like if it was called like Hooker's Way or something like that, I would write down Hooker's Way. Or if they had a strange last name such as Philip, I would write down the last name. I wouldn't like take their details, don't worry, no data protection was, you know, was breached. But it was in the days where it was kind of pre-internet, just, you know, the internet was there, but you wouldn't look up funny names on the internet, so I would keep a journal for that, and then I would take one name and I would just write one page in another journal of a story, create it, so it would kind of prompt my creative writing. So again, another aspect of myself totally unrelated to my art journaling, but an aspect of myself that is there to be explored. Okay, so there's a few more, but I'm going to begin to wrap up because you can just go through my channel really to see different journals. Although obviously it's more geared toward art. You'll see in a couple of weeks it's my birthday on one of the best dates I've ever seen for a birthday, 22nd of the 2nd, 2022. How wonderful is that date for a birthday? So I'm gonna be creating in my birthday tradition journal, which is a journal where every year I come back to it. It's filled with prompts and things for me, again, in 20 years to look back over where I was every year at my birthday. Again, it's not a class per se, it's a group on my journal workshops community where you can get the journal, the birthday tradition journal, and also a bunch of videos where I explain what to do in it. And I think it's about £10 for the digital download of the book, and also the videos that I've put alongside the class, where you can just see me going through it, examples, me explaining what it is and how to do it and create a ritual around your birthday every year. So I may do a little video on YouTube in a couple of weeks filling out my birthday tradition journal, who knows. But yeah, so there's what I'm saying is basically, you know, check it out on my channel here, or go over to journal workshops and again just look through the groups, the monthly challenges, and just see just go onto Facebook or Instagram or just Google and look at all the things that you can create journals on. But really what I want to put across to you is that you start with yourself rather than looking external. Those things are great for ideas and also ways and means to do them. You know, so you can take a class such as the Remedies and follow along, but then and that is something I stress so much in pretty much any of my videos, in my classes, but definitely in the Remedies class, is it needs to be personal, because my Remedies will not work for you, so it has to be totally unique to you. So begin looking at yourself and begin seeing yourself as this amazing person that you are, that is filled with so many personality traits and preferences and ideas and goals and just things that you can explore. That really, a journal is just a space to do that, and the more you do, the more you'll find there is absolute value and space that you don't get anywhere else. Even if you sit down with a friend and talk about a certain thing, you do not get the same stuff as what you do as sitting down and writing about the same thing, if you're honest. And that's what you will generally do in your journals, is you'll be more honest maybe than what you will sitting down with somebody else. There is value in sitting down and talking to a friend about a topic. There is value in sitting down and talking to a professional about a topic, but there is something else, an extra level that comes along when you just sit down with yourself and explore that same thing in any way that you want to, in a glue book, in a smash book, in an art journal, in a written journal, however the method is you want to get there. Just begin thinking of those areas of yourself that could be explored and grown. Alright, my bellyettes, thank you so much for watching. If you want some more videos from me, please subscribe to the channel, and even if you subscribed ages ago, please make sure you hit the notifications bell to be notified to actually see my videos when I post them. If you want some more stuff from me that isn't on YouTube, then head over to my Journal Workshops community, which is a private art space for those of us that are creatively minded to gather together to do things such as groups activities, and also it's where I host all of my classes, including some free ones if you want some extra Jenny Belly boosting time, binging, Netflix type style binging. See you over there. Much love.